Welcome back. Track Talk again brought to you by McCarthy Chevrolet. They want to buy your used cars right now. Great time to trade in your used car on a new vehicle at McCarthy Chevrolet. Get out and check them out at I-35 in Santa Fe, just off Rawhide Road. You can see them from the highway. They're on the north side right there before you come up on the Santa Fe. If you're headed west, did I say west? North, or south, I should say, on I-35. So, anyway, on the north side, check them out. Tell Brian Schaefer, thanks so much for sponsoring the RacinBoys, not only here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, but RacinBoys TV as well on Metro Sports. Again, great supporters of ours. And I'm telling you, I know I've been saying it, I'm very close to getting a new vehicle, but I'm closer than you can even imagine because we're ramping up some of the things we're doing at RacinBoys, and I'm gonna need a pickup.
You've had that thing coast to coast all over the country,
I think I'm going to keep it. I think I'm going to keep my Equinox that I bought at McCarthy Chevrolet, and I'm going to buy me a new truck. I think that's what I'm going to do. So,
you need two vehicles.
Right. So we want to thank our friends over there at McCarthy Chevrolet, again, I-35 in Santa Fe, supporting everything that we do on RacinBoys and Sports Radio 810 WHB. Well, sitting in now with us is our fearless leader of the Lucas Oil ASCS National Sprint Car Tour, the Chili Bowl Nationals, and this weekend's Speedway Motors Tulsa Shootout. Emmett Hahn, how you doing, Emmett?
Well, I'm tired. They're about to wear this old man down a little bit. It was a late night last night.
Man, I tell you what, though, you guys ripped through that show pretty good last night. That first heat race, I thought, heat race number one, I thought, oh, boy, we're going to have a long night. But we got going there and got a flow, and you guys kept on the track. Ask you about that last night, Emmett. The way you guys were watering that track, you watered it in sections each time. It seemed like one time you'd come out and just water the top, then maybe the middle, then the bottom, and trying to keep spots of the track equal.
Well, you could sit there and watch them last night. As long as it's a mediocre, good car,
right.
You can see where the fast way around on the racetrack was. And so if they was running around the bottom, you could just sprinkle the top, and the next race would be quick around the top for about 3 or 4 laps, and then you had to look.
So wherever they were running, you tried to fix the other area.
We just trying to get both lanes about the same speed. And we done something yesterday we'd never done. Like after practice was over, we usually just come in and completely redo the racetrack.
Right.
And it was so racy when hot laps was over. When we completely redo it, you get a real good racetrack. First 8 or 10 heat races are going to be one fast way around. And so I thought, well, this would make it a little more fair for the racers because they're working on passing points.
You didn't really rip it up until we got to those last qualifiers.
And the only reason we done that, we'd run so many laps, it was starting to take some rubber down on the bottom, and I knew if it done that we couldn't.
We were wondering if you were going to do it. So we all had a vote going on up here because we knew where we were at on the clock as well, and we got to respect the neighborhood around here.
Yeah.
And but it was a no-brainer. You had to do that.
Yeah,
because
we
not
had
only that, the
rubber.
drivers, you got to think about their money too. The tires are burning up too.
Well,
right?
that would be the most expensive thing that could do around here if we burn up all the rubber on these guys' car. But it ended up we was good probably until the last 2 races last night, and then the bottom just got so fast down there that we couldn't do anything about it.
Emmett Hahn is joining us. Everybody talks about the Chili Bowl, and that is such a grand event. But this isn't talked about nearly as much, and it should be, because the participants in this event and how much this has grown over the years. I mean, you talk over 1,000 entries. The quality of racing here is as good as a lot of what you'll see at the Chili Bowl, isn't it?
Yeah, I was doing a TV thing yesterday, and I told them, I said, the quality of cars that we got here, just not counting the quantity, but the quality that's out here. I said, the racing is as good as it is at Chili Bowl, and I said, you can get a ticket, and the tickets are a whole lot cheaper.
Yeah, we were just telling people, if you want a ticket for the Chili Bowl, you better get Tuesday because the rest of the week is sold out, and there's not many available for Tuesday. It used to be you could come down here and get a ticket pretty easy for Tuesday, but because of the race champions and everything that's going on, it's built that up, and it's not really you always use the word hooligan.
I know, and I shouldn't use that.
I know, and I shouldn't either.
Yeah.
But still, that was a night where guys didn't have a lot of experience. Initially, that's what that night was for. But now we're bringing in the Race of Champions, and everybody gets to see the stars, and that's made a difference on ticket sales on Tuesday for the Chili Bowl.
When we put them rookies and the back markers pretty much on Tuesday night, we done that for, I think, 2 years.
Right.
And I remember I know you won't believe this, but I was at Phoenix on a golf trip, and I was laying there,
Really?
and I said the racing at the Chili Bowl is still great, but it's not what it used to be, and I was trying to figure out why, and then it just come to me. I thought we took these slower cars out, and these
the
hot
markers.
dogs. Yeah, we took
Right.
the markers out. So then that's when we went back to the regular format of just splitting them up over 5 days.
The slow cars make the fast cars work harder, and by the way, they make them look faster when they pass them.
Yes,
too.
it does. Yeah, but it does make for a lot better racing,
Yeah.
and that's why our ticket holders, we just have them by the Wednesday through Saturday. We don't hold our feet to the fire on Tuesday.
Emmett, 1,000 entries for this weekend, and I think this might be the first time you've had people had to pull their trailers out. A few of them, not many, maybe. You've got to be at the cap of this thing, just about. Is there such a thing? I mean, or do you just start taking trailers out if you get more entries? How you come to the decision on that?
Well, we made our parking spots four parking spots wide this year, and I know down the center, the 5 center parking spots, I had 1,565 spots in there. So we got some guys that brings in the big trailers, and they cheat us on numbers and this and that. But we could park another 75 to 100 cars in the pits there. And so I announced yesterday at the drivers' meeting before we started, next year we're going to add another day on the shootout. Then that way we can, like yesterday when we had practice, we got to go through one time. Next year we'll get to have practice all day. And
are you trying to kill us?
No, no. I'm trying to save our life, Scott.
Oh, okay. All right.
These nights are getting short. Then that way we can do that.
Right.
We get a night's sleep every night, right?
Exactly right.
Right.
But then we wouldn't have a long night, and then like the next day we can just run all of our heat races, and we can start a little bit later, and then end up at a reasonable time, and so it will make it easier on us, the help, the racers.
Right.
I know they come here to have fun, but when you don't get but 5 or 6 hours sleep, it takes fun out of it.
Yeah, right.
It's hard to describe this building and these events for anybody that's not been here. When you pit all of the cars inside the building, you race, everything happens all in one building. This is such a unique building here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. There's really no other venue like this anywhere in the country.
No, to put everything under, you can go to any of the domes, and to start with, like this bottom level here where we're at, where the racetrack is at, you take the Astrodome, you could put 5 of the Astrodome floors on this lower level, and this is just a third of it. And so one thing I want to talk about, we're sitting here, can you see them fans down there in turn 2?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Those new this year.
They just got them installed right after Christmas. And what I didn't know, when they replaced the heat and air units here, we took one of the old units, which is huge, and we had it over in that door to suck our air out of here.
Always thinking about the people doing that.
Yeah, and then I didn't know this until we done a smoke test on it here the other day, because that's a huge air handler that we had over there, and 2 of them fans over there moves as much air as that air handler, and there's 20 of them fans over there. They can suck every bit of this out of here in 42 minutes.
Really?
And then they put fans down at the west end, which they're sucking air in. These are taking it out. And yesterday when we fired up to let them get heat in the engines, the guy wasn't here yet, and we didn't give him any warning. And, I mean, it got stuffy up top. And when he got these fans and everything going, it wasn't 10 minutes. It's unbelievable. And he checked CO levels all day yesterday, and we're down 4 points from what, like last year, we might be running 110 parts per million on the CO level, and yesterday we was running 60 and 65 versus 110.
Always working on that. Make sure you're taking care of the fans and the people in this building, because we're in here and a lot of racing going on with 1,000 entries. You're going to have to deal with it. And I know every year you make an improvement to do so on that.
We try to.
And you got a good partnership with the Fair Board and who owns the building.
The Fair.
27 years they've worked with you, haven't they?
They spent a lot of money on them fans, and I mean they're just like we are. We're trying to take care of the people, and that's one of the best things that we've done right there in a while.
Emmett, we've talked about the Tulsa Shootout and the Chili Bowl, but let's quickly talk about the Lucas Oil ASCS National Tour. I've been out there with him going on my 5th year. I tell everybody all the time that last year I saw a huge spike in attendance. and the credibility continues to build. And I know that has a lot to do with your leadership and what's going on and the involvement of Lucas Oil. But the fans are showing up in droves for these events. And I would say that the attendance was up at 90% of the tracks that we went to in 2012. Would you agree?
I'd agree with that. And, I mean, there's some of them that was up a lot from what they've been in previous years. And you know it. I know it. Our cars are so equal. They put on one of the best sprint car shows in the country, period, bar none. And the people is just now finding out what kind of show it is, and you don't have to mortgage the house to buy a ticket.
That's right. And not only did we have a great rivalry last year between the Johnsons, but now we've got the Ford Chevrolet rivalry, and I think that's good for the sport, to be honest with you. I think, when I was a kid, people didn't root for the drivers as much as they root for the
That's
brand.
Right. Yes, you're right.
And we need to kind of pull that element back into it. We've got it now. And everybody goes, oh, that Ford, it won 14 races. It was so dominant. I tell everybody, the Chevrolet won the rest of those races almost. Wayne Johnson wins 10. I mean, that's only 4 different. And I can tell you right now, if Jason Johnson would have had that Don Ott in there, he would have won 14 races with it.
That's exactly right. I mean, Jason from right out of the box when he was down in Arizona,
right.
He had his elbows up. And not only that, but Jason, he's got probably the most organized crew and crew chief on his deal.
No doubt.
I mean, it's
top notch.
Yeah, I've sat and watched them guys work. There's no horseplay. They all got their job to do, and they get it done. And when that car gets to the racetrack, it's ready to go.
Yeah, you don't see a bunch of grab ass going on playing around down in
Right.
their pits. And the involvement for Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 2-time Nationwide Series champion, now going over to the Cup level. He has shown his support of ASCS. He could have taken got a lot of money.
Yeah.
He could have went anywhere he wanted. And for him to really bring it back to where he cut his teeth in sprint car racing in ASCS, that's good for us too.
Well, you take the guys that's made it up there to the Cup level, Tony, Casey, now then Ricky. Them guys all of them was good in open wheel racing, and you're right. It's nice that them guys. It's kind of like this old saying that Dad used to say: "You dance with the one that brought you there."
Right.
And so they just go back and help some of the people that need some help.
Yeah, well, I tell you, we had a great time out there this year, and now the schedule is just about complete. I know that we got some TBAs on there. I know that Tony and I are trying to book another date as well. We had, I think it was 62 events or 62 nights of action. That was a huge spike from the year before. I think we had
34,
something
like that. Yeah.
So to double the numbers and then have the success that we had, I don't know if you could be any more happy with the year that you had in 2012, could you?
No, it was awful good. And our racers, they said, when we was having them meetings a year ago out there, when we was doing a restructuring the purse and these dates, now then they said, maybe we don't need 60. 55 would be enough.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
They want all these dates, but then when you give it to them, hold on a second.
When you're out on the road for 4, 5, 6 weeks at a time before you get to come home, it starts wearing on you. I mean, I know the outlaw guys do that all the time, but our people's not kind of something new.
Well,
to most
plus,
of
a lot of our guys don't have that budget either.
That's right.
That's the big thing about it. And I think giving them a little more time to get back home and get ready for Knoxville, that was a big complaint, I guess, to some of the drivers because they wanted a lot of dates when we got out to the Northwest. Because we only had like 3 weekends when we went out there before. Then we put those midweek shows at Banks and some of those places like that. Next thing you know, we got 15 or 16 dates in July, and it wore those guys out right before the Knoxville Nationals.
Yeah, they said Santa Maria on Sunday night and being in Knoxville on Wednesday that won't compute. So
that's right.
I mean, it'll compute, but if anybody had any trouble, we'd have been in trouble.
Emmett Hahn joining us. The Chili Bowl, Lucas Oil Chili Bowl Midget Nationals coming up January 8th through the 12th, and we've already touched on it a little bit. Big 5-day event wraps up on Saturday night. Swindells have won it 4 years in a row now. Kevin Swindell 3 years in a row, and Tony Stewart just announced he's going to participate again in the Chili Bowl this year. And
one of the few places he announces he's going to.
Yeah, but you've got a lot of other young stars that are here and should give the Swindells a good run for their money this year.
I'll tell you what, and people said it over the years, you got to be good when you get here to Chili Bowl, and you got to have some Chili Bowl luck. And Kevin and Sammy both has done an outstanding job to get up there and run 1-2 like they have. But you got to watch out for this Chili Bowl luck because anything could happen at any time.
Kevin Swindell participating this weekend, getting the heads up.
Yeah. You know, he was here last year at the shootout, and I seen Kevin down there. He's racing. Seen Brady Bacon down there.
Right.
You know, we got some people here. I was just looking on our winter banner here a couple of years ago. Kyle Larson was over here driving a cage cart, you know, and he won it.
These are the future.
That's it.
These are the guys that we hope graduate to the Lucas Oil ASCS Regions or the National Tour.
Yeah.
Christopher Bell, I mean, look at that young phenom. That guy's got a lot of talent.
Oh, he's another Kyle Larson coming.
You've seen a lot of drivers come along. Kyle Larson, how good is he?
I had never seen anything like him, really, to be honest.
Really?
I didn't. Tony, when he was racing, I mean, Tony was great, but Kyle, it don't matter what he gets in.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you take J.J. Yeley as an example. I mean, great in an open wheel, and then he got down there and he's in the Gibbs thing, and he was good, but he wasn't great.
Right.
And not everybody can make that transition, and that's Kyle Larson. It makes no difference. It don't matter whether he's in a midget, a sprint car, Silver Crown car.
And what's funny is the first time he gets in anything, he's fast. It's not like he needs 4 or 5 times in it.
Yeah.
The first race, when he gets in one of those Camping World East-West cars or a truck series, he just immediately goes to the front.
Yeah.
What attributes does a kid like that have to make him so good? When you watch him out on the racetrack, what makes him so good?
Let me tell you, it's just like anything else. If it's not a natural thing, you can just be so good. But when you got natural talent, you just see them do things that they hadn't seen or nobody's told them.
Thought of.
Yeah, even thought of, and they just go make a move out on the racetrack. And I mean, you can't teach that.
Right.
And he's got the humble aspect about him that brings that all together. You know, it's one thing to have the natural gifted talent, but you got to have it upstairs to be able to put that all together. He seems to have that, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, you talk to Kyle, you see him around here, and I mean, he's a guy that you might see at a high school football game around there with his buds over there. I mean, he just he don't get keyed up about nothing. He don't get the big head, and you know, when you're that good, you can be humble because your result speaks for you.
The only problem I have with it is we always lose our open wheel drivers to the big money down south. That's the only thing I hate about it. But you can't argue with a guy wanting to go down there and make millions of dollars. But still, boy, we'd like to see those guys stay in a wing sprint car from time to time, wouldn't we?
Yeah, but here's the deal: like with Kyle and Ricky, Ricky's not going to get to come back and run Chili Bowl because he's with the Roush Yates. But when them guys get up there and get making that millions, they can kind of tell them what to do. But when they get up there and get making these tens of millions, then they can do kind of what they want to.
Bring a little money back.
And they'll bring it back in here.
Right.
Talk about Tony Stewart and how much he's given back to grassroots racing. I mean, here is the ultimate superstar of racing, but yet he still wants to participate in sprint car racing and run the Chili Bowl.
I remember, 12, 14 years ago when Tony would run in Indy cars. They was at Orlando for tire test or whatever. This was before Tony had his jets and this and that. And I remember his plane that he had, and he tire tested, flew that thing back here to do his qualifying night. Then that night they flew him back down there where he could test. And then Saturday he gets back up here, and he's in the feature, and I see him. He breaks an engine out there, and I'm down in the infield, and I felt so sorry for him. And I said, man, Tony, I said, I hate this. He said, Emmett, he said, I love this place. I love this place.
He didn't have a bad attitude.
No, he
about
did
it at
not.
all.
No.
Right. Well, Emmett, thanks so much for coming down and being on the show with us, and thanks for what you do for RacinBoys. We're looking forward to our 5th year out on the ASCS National Tour, and good luck to you here the rest of this weekend and next week or 2 weeks from now, and hopefully things go well for you.
Another thing, all of our help, we worked them to death yesterday, and it's going to be the same way today. And they all look at this. They said, when the shootout's over, the Chili Bowl's a piece of cake.
It is,
isn't
it?
So
it really
It is, yeah. Tommy said, look, we'll have 260 cars at Chili Bowl. We got 245 in this one class here. We're getting ready to
the
run
A-Class non-wing, they have 246 cars, and they've got 207 cars in the non-wing Outlaws. So, hey, quickly, because we're up against the break, Blake, That boy, for having his finger almost cut off the other day, drove the wheels off that. You have to be proud of that grandson.
He done a good job last night. I was watching
and
him.
so did Matt.
Yeah, and they that Blake, he's another one that's he's got the demeanor for it. He's just got a lot of natural talent.
He's a level-headed kid, isn't he?
Yeah, and what was crazy is when he cut his finger open and broke it and all this, the only thing he was nervous about, he said, my dad's going to be mad at me. Like he done this on purpose.
Right. Well, Emmett, thanks so much for being on the show. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll open up the phone lines, 913-381-0810. Your phone calls to the top of the hour here on Track Talk.